Welcome to daily newspaper analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, and today's topic of discussion is these articles. And in this first article we will discuss about the hemophilia disease and what is the gene therapy developed by the Indian scientists to deal with this disease. And in the second article we will discuss about the periodic labor force survey and what are the indicators under it. And in this third article we will discuss about the key judgments, acts and what are the schemes designed by the government of India to deal with this manual scavenging. Lastly, we will focus on the EPFO, which is a statutory body. We will discuss the functions, what are the schemes offered by this EPFO. So without further delay, let's get into today's discussion. So this news article talks about the development of a gene therapy by the Indian scientist for the hemophilia disease. So hemophilia is a genetic disorder and it causes bleeding in the patients. So they have tested this gene therapy in almost 5 patients in Tamil Nadu and they have shown no bleeding episodes in the following 14 months. So it is a significant achievement. So what we have to learn from the prelims perspective is that, so with respect to any diseases in the science, first we have to learn whether it is a rare disease or a hereditary disease, or we will also see what are the symptoms of this disease and how this is caused. And later we will also discuss what is this gene therapy and what is the gene therapy technique which is developed by the Indian scientist. Firstly, let's try to understand what is this disease of hemophilia. So this hemophilia is a genetic disorder and it causes a mutation in gene. Mutation is nothing but there is a sudden change in the gene of an individual. So usually this is caused in males rather than females. Let me explain this why later, but this is a genetic disorder and it caused due to mutation in the gene. Because of this mutation in the gene, there will be less or no production of protein. So genes are the ones which codes for the protein and the protein does some specific functions, and here this particular gene codes for the clotting factor. So we have clotting factor 8 and clotting factor 9, and if there is a defect in this particular gene, there will be no or less production of this clotting factor and this can cause the bleeding. This is how the disease is caused. And let me come why it is majorly caused in males. It is a X-linked and a recessive disease. So X-linked is nothing but usually in humans there are 23 pairs of chromosome and the 23rd pair of chromosome in the males will be XY and in females it will be XX. So this is a X-linked. X-linked in the sense there will be a mutation of gene, I said right, that mutation of gene will be in the X chromosome of the 23rd pair in the humans, and if there is a mutation in this gene in case of males, there will be a disease, but in case of females there will not be, because if there is a mutation here and there is no mutation, there will be other gene that can compensate this faulty gene and there will be production of clotting factors and the females will remain only as carrier and they will not get affected, while in males there will be not other gene to replace this faulty gene, thereby there will be no production of this clotting factor and they will be affected with the hemophilia. So this is the basic thing you have to understand. It is better you remember the fact that there is no or less presence of the factor, clotting factor 8 and 9, and if there is a deficiency of the clotting factor 8, it can cause the hemophilia and it is caused in almost 1 in 5,000, while the hemophilia B is caused due to lack or deficiency of the clotting factor 9 and it can cause the hemophilia B. So what are the symptoms of this disease? So they experience prolonged bleeding. So if you see a movie, the hero is affected with this kind of hemophilic disease and there is a rare inherited bleeding disorder. As already seen, it is a inherited disorder because it is genetic in nature and the blood will not have this clotting factors. So hope you got a clear picture of this disease. Now let's see what is gene therapy. So I said there is a faulty gene, right? So we have to replace or modify this faulty gene, and the technique used to modification or replacement is called as gene therapy. What is followed right now? Right now we are going to inject this clotting factors directly into the body, because there is an absence of clotting factors and we are going to inject it directly into the body. But now in gene therapy, what they will do is that they will take a vector. Vector is nothing but they will take the virus and remove all the harmful parts in it. So it will act as a delivery agent and it will carry the functional gene, that is the gene that will replace the faulty gene, and this will code for the clotting protein. So this vector is injected into the body. You know that virus, when it enters the body, it will use the mechanism of the host and it will produce the effective and the functional gene. So this will integrate with the liver cells in case of this disease, because it is usually in the non-affected individuals, the liver cells will produce the clotting factors and this gene will integrate with the liver cells and produce the functional gene protein, which is the clotting factor 8 and 9 in this case. So when there is a production of clotting factor, the disease will be cured. This is the functioning of the gene therapy and this is what designed by the Indian scientist right now. So with this knowledge, let's see a prelims practice question. So this reduced the need for injection which are required in frequent manner, and it also improves the quality of life and reduces the risk of inhibitors. So now with this knowledge in mind, let's see a prelims practice question. Which of the following is not a disease associated with the blood? So thalassemia, leukemia, multiple sclerosis, porphyria. So A, B, D are a disease which are involved with blood, but sclerosis is a nerval disease. So here in this disease, the immune system will damage the protecting covering which is surrounding the nerves. So this is not a blood disease. So the correct answer would be C, multiple sclerosis. So with this, let's see the next article discussion. So look at this next article. They have discussed about the EPFO. They have compulsorily retired almost 12 officers in the last 2 months, and this says that they have improved the efficiency and they have also improved the effectiveness to combat the corruption. So what we have to learn from the prelims perspective is that we will learn about the EPFO, which is a statutory body. So this is a important topic under prelim syllabus. So let's have a quick discussion about that. As already said, this EPFO, which is the Employees Provident Fund Organization, and this is a statutory body under this act, Employee Provident Fund Act of 1952. Under this act, it was established in the year 1952 itself. So the headquarters of this EPFO is located at New Delhi, and they have covered almost 4.5 crore employees under the act of EPFO Provisions Act, and it is governed by the Central Board of Trustees, and they have 10 zones covering all areas of India. The main role of this EPFO is to manage and regulate all the provident funds in India. So let's discuss the functions of this EPFO detailedly. So let's discuss the functions of this EPFO detailedly in the subsequent slides. So what is the main objective of this EPFO? They have an objective to provide a social security for the employees with the help of the pensions and retirement schemes, and they also provide retirement benefits with the help of the employee pension scheme. We will discuss about this detailedly, and they also expand the security programs which are given by the government, and they implement the Vision 30, which is nothing but to provide a universal social security coverage and to provide online services and to improve the social security policy framework. This is the main objective of this EPFO. The main keyword would be social security to the people. Talking about the structure of EPFO, it is governed by the Central Board of Trustees and the executive committees. As already said, they have 10 zones and regional offices and district level offices. So the functions include to manage the individual accounts of the employees, to resolve any claims and pension payments and to invest in the efficient fund. They also update the records of the members and they provide online facilities, be it in the case of balance inquiry, nomination, claims and the case filing. This is the basic functions of EPFO. Now let's discuss the schemes offered by this EPFO. Firstly, we have the EPF scheme of 1952. This is nothing but the Employment Provident Fund and this is a retirement saving scheme. This retirement saving scheme, so here both the employee as well as the employer will contribute. So the employee contributes almost 12% of the basic salary and the dearness allowance, while the employer they will contribute a certain percentage, that is 8.833%. Part of this amount is also diverted for the next scheme, which is the employment pension scheme. We'll discuss that later. So after a period or after the working period and during the post retirement phase, they can take this amount as a whole. So this is called as the employee provident fund and this includes a certain amount of the employee, employer and a interest. So the other advantage is that they will provide a higher interest percentage than comparing with the many banks, and they also have another feature. So under the section 80C of the IT Act, so according to this act, there is no tax deduction for the CPF amount. So if they are going to withdraw the amount after 5 years, there will be no taxation to this amount. So these are the advantages and the provident fund which is offered to the employees under this employee provident fund scheme. So nextly we have a scheme called as the pension scheme of 1995. So we have differentiated old pension scheme, new pension scheme. In the previous videos you can check that in the editorial session. But now we will have a quick discussion from the prelims point of view. It is eligible for persons who have got almost 10 years of service and it is totally contributed by the employer. So this is a difference, it is contributed only by the employer and not the employee, and here no rate of interest is provided. So after the retirement, a monthly pension is provided to the employee or the family members of the employee if he is dead. So this is called as the pension scheme of 1995. So if we quickly differentiate the EPF, that is the provident fund, and the provident scheme, the pension scheme. So it is contributed by the employee and employer. Here it is contributed only by the employer. And secondly, it consists of a rate of interest, while this do not have a rate of interest. So this is a monthly pension that is provided, and here it is withdrawn completely or a part of it withdrawn during any emergency, during a function or a marriage, during special occasions. This is called as the employee provident fund. I hope you got a clear picture here. And we also have the EDLI, which is the employee deposit linked insurance scheme. So under this scheme, insurance benefits are provided up to 6 lakhs to the employees. So now we have another concept here called as the universal account number. This is a 12-digit unique ID and it is very advantageous because we can access all the PF accounts and it is simplifying all the claims and withdrawals. So they had a vision for the online portal. So the online passbook and KYC services are provided with the help of this UAN and it helps in the easy balance checking. So having discussed all of this, let's see what are the benefits of this EPFO schemes and mechanism. Firstly, they offer a high rate of interest compared to the banks. For example, in the year 2021, they offer an interest of about 8.65%, and they are having a tax benefits under the section 80C of the IT Act. So they are having a tax benefit. If they are going to withdraw the amount after 5 years, it is not prone to tax payment, and it is offering a solution for the long time security because the employees are able to make a savings for the post retirement under the supervision of the government itself. So it will be very safe in nature. And as already said, we have a scheme called as the employee pension scheme. This is helping for the post-retirement saving, and a part of this saving is also invested in these stocks, which helps them to get higher returns in many cases. So these are the concepts that we have discussed. We have discussed what is EPFO, their objective, functions and the benefits. We also discussed the EPS and EPF. Now let's see a prelims practice question. So this question was asked in the year 2021 and the answer for this question would be all casual workers are entitled for the provident fund coverage. Yes, all casual workers are entitled for the regular working hours and overtime payment. This is also correct. And the third statement is government can by a notification specify that an establishment or industry shall pay wages only through its bank account. So the correct answer would be D. All three statements are correct. So with this, let's see the next article discussion. This is the next article that we are going to discuss today. So this says about the statement of the Supreme Court that says that it will go to any extent possible to eradicate the manual scavenging. So manual scavenging involves humans in the cleaning of the sewage and the septic tanks, which is a inhuman and a non-dignitary practices. So this violates the right to dignity of a person under Article 21, and this has to be eradicated completely, which may be practiced in any kind. So what are the judgments, acts and the measures taken by the government to eradicate this completely? Let's see that in this discussion. So starting with manual scavenging, so this involves cleaning and this carrying of the human excreta, and they are prone to high pathogens and gases which are present in this manholes, and they are prone to many diseases such as typhoid, cholera, hepatitis and many other respiratory infection, and in many cases they are also prone to death because of the absence of oxygen in the manhole. So they are also prone to many discrimination because of this social stigma attached to this manual scavenging act, and subsequent and continuous prone to this manual scavenging and the hazardous condition can cause them severe distress. So we have an act called as the Employment of Manual Scavengers Construction of Dry Latrine Prohibition Act. So the concept is that if we are having a dry latrine, it will be prone to manual scavenging. If there is a wet latrine, it will be flushed off right away. So this act particularly prohibits the construction of dry latrine, and it mandates a water seal latrine which will avoid the requirement of manual scavenging. It also prohibits the employment of manual scavengers, and later we have another act called as the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act. So let me explain the features of this act detailedly. Firstly, this act bans the practice of manual scavenging, and it also involves the local authority should identify these manual scavengers, and they have to provide them skill development, and they have to rehabilitate them in a better skilled environment. This is the function and the responsibility of the local authorities, and many fines and imprisonment also imposed on persons who are employing this manual scavengers. For example, rupees 1 lakh and almost 2 years jail are imposed for persons who are employing the manual scavengers. And it also says we have to mechanize the cleaning of this manual holes. Mechanize the cleaning of the manholes. This is the next provision. They also insist providing a financial aid to the manual scavengers to settle them and rehabilitate them in a better situation. These are the provisions of this act, and under this act, so if you see in this article, they have also mentioned about other scheme which is called as the Namaste National Action for the Mechanized Sanitization Ecosystem. So about this scheme, let's discuss about that as well. So this scheme was launched in the year 2023 by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. So they ensure the prohibition and ban of hazardous condition of cleaning of the sewage and septic tank, and ensure a safety as well as dignity to the manual scavengers people. So what are the features of this scheme? So here you can see the scheme features are coinciding with the act. So both of them have similar provisions, and addition to that they also provide insurance with coverage to health of this manual scavengers. They also provide awareness about the social stigma and the health hazards because of the manual scavenging. This is the provisions of this act. Now we will see what is the important key judgments with respect to this manual scavenging. So firstly, we had a case called as the Bandhuva Mukti Morsha case. So in this case, they delivered a judgment such that it is the duty of the state to eradicate this manual scavenging. And nextly, in the year 2003, we had a case for Lalita Kishore versus the state of Bihar case. They gave a judgment for the enforcement of the prohibition laws and to provide a alternative employment to the manual scavengers. And in this is the important case with respect to the manual scavenging, which is the Safai Karamchari Andolan, which is the Union of India. So this case, which is next to the year of prohibition of manual scavenging and the Rehabilitation Act. So this is the next year, this case is next to that act, and they gave a judgment to strictly implement the provisions of this act, and they also suggested to give 10 lakh of amount as compensation for the manual scavengers if they have debt during the process. In the last year 2023 and in October 20, they said that they will go to any extent, the Supreme Court said that they will go to any extent to totally eradicate this manual scavenging, and in the 2023 they had other similar judgments to eradicate, to rehabilitate them and to demolish the dry latrine. So these are the key judgments we have to remember. So I would suggest you definitely remember the Safai Karamchari case as it is very important with respect to the manual scavenging. So now let's take a quick glimpse of other schemes as well. So we have the Swachh Bharat mission, which is a famous mission, and they eliminate the open defecation, and they helped in the construction of many restrooms in the rural areas, and they provide a other work opportunity to the, and they also provided the sanitation worker opportunity. And nextly we have the self-employment scheme for the rehabilitation of manual scavengers. So to have a rehabilitation they need a loan, and this is provided under this scheme. So under this scheme a one-time cash assistance is provided, which helps them to develop their skill as well as to search for a alternative employment. Under this a skill development training is also provided, along with that a financial assistance is also provided to the manual scavengers. Added to this, upskilling program or a training is provided under this recognition of prior learning program to the manual scavengers. We also have Swachhta Udyami Yojana, which provides concessional loan for the sanitization equipments and vehicles. So in this article discussion we saw the main important judgments, acts and the schemes related to the eradication of the Manual Scavenging Act. So let's see a prelims question relevant to this. So unseen, the truth about India's manual scavengers is authorized by which of the following author? So the correct answer is Basha Singh. So this is a factual question. So with this we will conclude the discussion on this article, and now let's move on to the next one. So if you see this poster, they have talked about the periodic labor force survey, which is conducted by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So if there is any survey, you have to definitely read it is conducted by whom and who publishes it, and it is also published by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So we also have to read what are the indicators in that survey. So the indicators of this survey are the labor force participation rate, the worker population ratio and the unemployment rate. So all these three indicators will help us to understand the nature of labor market in India, like who are employed, what are the percentage of people who are employed, who are unemployed, and this will help the government to design a employment program in such a way. So we will discuss about the three indicators detailedly, starting with labor force participation rate. It is the proportion of working age population in the labor force. Simply you can understand that it is the percentage of people who are aged above the 15. So it is the percentage of the population who are aged above 15. So above 15 is the first criteria because they will belong to the working age population in India, and this includes the labor force participation rate includes that who are aged above 15, who are actively working, either they are working or they are looking for work. So they comes under the labor force participation rate, and it is calculated with the help of a formula called as the labor force by working age population into 100. So this will reflect the active working population, who are active working people who are available in India, and it is also indicator of all the economic activities. It reflects the availability of the human resources. And next we have the worker population ratio. So this includes the same category. It is a percentage of people who are aged above 15 but they are actively working. So if this is labor force participation rate, the part of this who are actively working comes under the worker population ratio. I hope you understood the difference, and this is calculated by a formula like number of employed people by the working age population into 100. So this measures the actual level of employment which are existing in the country and provides the insight into the labor market inclusiveness. Thirdly, we have the indicator that is the unemployment rate. So this includes a percentage of people who are looking for work. So they are looking for work but they do not have the job. So those who do not have the job but they are looking for the job is called as the unemployment rate. So this will reflect the joblessness in the country, and it will also help the policymakers to draft a program in such a way they will be able to create jobs for this jobless population. And it is calculated with the help of formula number of unemployed people by the labor force into 100. So here you can see the denominator is changing. So here we have the labor force and we have not mentioned the age, but in case of these two formulas we have mentioned working age population in the denominator, and it includes people who are age above 15. So having understood these three indicators, we also have other important indicators which are released by the periodic labor force survey. So they also release data or indicators which will show the distribution of workers in each sector. So we will be able to identify the distribution of workers in each sector and develop that particular sector specifically. So a specific and a concentrated plan can be drafted to improve each sector with the help of this particular data. So they also reflect the data with respect to the casual and regular employment. So this will reflect the quality and the safety of the job, because the casual laborers are prone to irregular employment and subsistence level and salaries, but in case of regular employment they will have a regular job and social security, which is lacking in case of casual employment. Thirdly, they will also release all these three indicators in a gender specific and a region specific way. In that way we will be able to find the disparities among the gender in case of employment and unemployment, and we will also able to find the disparities on the regional specific way. So we will be able to plan and make a policy in a region specific as well as gender specific manner. So these are the key concepts which we have to understand with respect to the periodic labor force survey. So first, it is given by which ministry and who publishes it, what are the indicators. So these three things are enough to learn about a survey. So another thing is that it will be released in a quarterly manner or a annual way. So both in a quarterly manner it is released. Also addition to that, annual reports are also published by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So with this, let's see a prelims practice question. Which of the following is not an indicator of the periodic labor force survey? So we have discussed detailedly all these three comes under the indicators of periodic labor force survey, but the GDP is not an indicator. So the correct option for this is D, but this is not an indicator of the periodic labor force survey. We have come to end of today's video. If you found the video informative, do hit like, give your feedback, comment, and do not forget to subscribe. Thank you. Have a nice day.